What do you do when kids who are supposed to be innocent turn out to be filled with nothing but evil? No, not like telling white lies or being stubborn. I'm talking about being a cold-blooded murderer. In this video, we'll explore the haunting stories of these young criminals from Aiden Fui to Nehemiah Grigo, who have committed heinous crimes and now face the reality of spending their lives behind bars.
I sentence you to life in prison.
Prepare yourself for shocking reactions as we witness the emotional responses, from defiance to remorse, of these remorseless young offenders. Philip Chisum. In a shocking and horrifying crime that rocked the nation, Philip Chisum, a 14-year-old ninth grader at Danvers High School in Massachusetts, committed the unthinkable. Having recently moved from Tennessee to Danvers, Chisum was not well known at the school, making his actions even more shocking. In October 2013, Chisum brutally murdered his 24-year-old math teacher, Colleen Ritzer. The murder of Colleen Ritzer sent shockwaves through the community, as the beloved teacher's life was tragically cut short by one of her own students. Ritzer, known for her dedication and passion for helping her students with math, had asked Chisum to stay after school that day, unaware of the sinister plan he had already devised. As the school day came to a close on that fateful day in October 2013, Philip Chisum, a 14-year-old ninth grader, followed his math teacher, Colleen Ritzer, into a school bathroom. Unbeknownst to Ritzer, Chisum had meticulously planned the attack in advance. Armed with a box cutter, he unleashed a horrifying assault on his unsuspecting teacher. In a chilling display of violence, Chisum robbed, raped, and ultimately took the life of Colleen Ritzer. The details of the attack are difficult to comprehend, as the young student showed no mercy. After committing the heinous act, Chisum callously disposed of Ritzer's body in a garbage can located in the woods behind the school. The level of premeditation is truly disturbing. Chisum arrived at school that day carrying bags containing a box cutter, a mask, gloves, and a change of clothing. Security footage captured his chilling movements as he entered the bathroom, where he would carry out his sinister plan. The fact that he changed outfits multiple times throughout the crime further emphasizes the calculated nature of his actions. In the aftermath of the brutal murder, both Philip Chisum and Colleen Ritzer were reported missing, causing panic and concern among the school community. It wasn't long before the horrifying truth began to unravel. Bloodstains were discovered in the bathroom, as well as in Ritzer's bag and her bloodied clothing near the woods behind the school. The search for answers intensified, and eventually, Chisum was apprehended by the police. Shockingly, he was found in possession of Ritzer's credit card and driver's license. With no choice but to confess, Chisum admitted to the crime and led authorities to the partially buried body of his teacher in the woods. Philip Chisum's heinous actions could not go unpunished. Despite his young age, Chisum was tried as an adult, emphasizing the gravity of his actions. The trial was a harrowing experience, as the details of the crime were laid bare for all to see. Chisum's defense team argued that he suffered from severe mental illness, attempting to provide some explanation for his heinous actions. They emphasized the need for understanding and rehabilitation, suggesting that Chisum's young age and troubled state of mind should be taken into consideration. On the other hand, the prosecution portrayed Chisum as manipulative and narcissistic, arguing that his actions were driven by a darker motive. They highlighted the calculated nature of the crime, pointing to the premeditation and the multiple outfit changes Chisum made throughout the attack. The judge carefully weighed the arguments presented by both sides, considering the severity of the crimes committed and the impact they had on the victim's family and the community. Ultimately, the judge delivered a sentence that reflected the shocking nature of the crime. Philip Chisum was sentenced to serve at least 40 years in prison, ensuring that he would face the consequences of his actions for a significant portion of his life. The sentencing marked a moment of closure for the victim's family and colleagues, providing some semblance of justice for the life that was tragically taken away. But despite the sentence, Chisum showed no emotion, almost like he just wanted the entire thing to be over. Nehemiah Grigo. Next, we bring you the bone-chilling story of Nehemiah Grigo, a name that will forever be etched in the annals of true crime history. As we delve into the twisted world of Nehemiah Grigo, it is crucial to understand the background and family dynamics that shaped his path towards darkness. Nehemiah was born into a seemingly ordinary family in South Valley, New Mexico. His parents, Greg and Sarah Grigo, were well-respected members of the community, known for their strong religious beliefs and dedication to their children. However, beneath the facade of a happy family, there were hidden cracks that would eventually lead to tragedy. Nehemiah's upbringing was marred by a tumultuous household, plagued by domestic strife and emotional turmoil. The Grigo family faced their fair share of challenges, with financial struggles and strained relationships casting a shadow over their lives. Nehemiah, the eldest of 5 siblings, often found solace in the virtual world of video games. Games like Modern Warfare and Grand Theft Auto became an escape from the harsh realities of his everyday life. Little did anyone know that these virtual realms would eventually blur with the horrors that awaited them. But it was Nehemiah's inner demons that truly set him on a path of destruction. He battled with suicidal and homicidal thoughts, a darkness that consumed his young mind. These thoughts festered and grew, fueling a desire for control and power that would ultimately lead to the unthinkable. The events leading up to the tragic shooting rampage orchestrated by Nehemiah Grigo are as chilling as they are shocking. It was a cold January night when Nehemiah's inner turmoil reached its boiling point, pushing him to commit the unthinkable. Unbeknownst to his family, Nehemiah had been harboring these dark thoughts for some time. He had even taken steps to acquire the means to carry out his sinister plans. Nehemiah gained access to his parents' firearms, a .22 rifle and an AR-15 semi-automatic rifle, which he kept hidden away in their closet. He crept into his parents' bedroom, where his mother lay peacefully asleep. Without hesitation, he raised the .22 rifle and fired a single shot, ending her life in an instant. The silence of the night was shattered by the sound of the gunshot, marking the beginning of a horrifying chain of events. Nehemiah's next target was his younger brother, Zephaniah. He entered the boy's room, where innocence and dreams should have filled the air. But instead, Nehemiah's twisted thoughts took hold, and he coldly ended his brother's life with a single shot. The commotion awakened Nehemiah's two younger sisters, Jael and Angelina, who were now thrust into a nightmare they could never have imagined. As they emerged from their rooms, they were met with the unthinkable sight of their older brother, armed and filled with an unimaginable rage. Nehemiah showed no mercy as he turned his weapons on his defenseless sisters, extinguishing their lives in a matter of moments. With his family members lying lifeless around him, Nehemiah Grigo waited. He knew his father, Greg, would soon return home, and when he did, Nehemiah unleashed a hail of bullets from the AR-15 semi-automatic rifle, ending his father's life and completing the devastating massacre. The Grigo household, once filled with love and laughter, was now a scene of unspeakable horror. Nehemiah had achieved his twisted goal, but his thirst for violence was not yet quenched. He had planned to continue his killing spree, targeting more innocent individuals in a populated area. However, fate intervened, altering the course of events in a way that would prevent further bloodshed. Instead, he went to church, seeking solace in the house of God. There, he encountered his girlfriend and her grandmother, and with an eerie calmness, he spun a web of lies. He told them that his family had died in a tragic car accident, concealing the horrifying truth. Little did Nehemiah know that his dark secret would soon be exposed, unraveling the web of deception he had woven. The truth would come to light, and the world would be left reeling from the unimaginable horror that had unfolded within the Grigo household. It was on January 21st, 2013 that the truth began to unravel. Nehemiah, burdened by the weight of his actions, made a chilling confession to a security guard at the church. He revealed that his family was dead, going contrary to the lies of a tragic car accident that he had carefully crafted. The security guard wasted no time and immediately called 911, setting in motion a chain of events that would expose the dark secrets hidden behind closed doors. Law enforcement descended upon the Grigo home, greeted by a scene of unspeakable violence and loss. During the investigation, Nehemiah's confession provided a chilling glimpse into his disturbed mind. He mentioned his enjoyment of violent video games, including Modern Warfare and Grand Theft Auto, raising questions about the influence of these virtual worlds on his actions. But as the pieces of the puzzle fell into place, another disturbing question emerged. How did Nehemiah obtain the weapons used in the killings? The guns were legally purchased, but the identity of the purchaser remained unclear. Some of the firearms were possibly bought by Nehemiah's father's friends, adding another layer of mystery to the tragic tale. The legal consequences for Nehemiah Grigo were as severe as the crimes he committed. As the details of his horrific actions came to light, he faced a slew of charges that reflected the magnitude of his deeds. Nehemiah, despite being just 15 years old at the time of the crimes, was charged as an adult. The seriousness of his offenses demanded a trial in the adult criminal justice system, where the stakes were high and the potential consequences dire. The charges brought against Nehemiah included multiple counts of murder and child abuse resulting in death. Each charge carried with it the weight of shattered lives and the devastation he had wrought upon his own family. Finally, after a long trial, the judge announced that Nehemiah Grigo would spend the rest of his life in prison. Nehemiah Grigo was sentenced to 3 concurrent life sentences plus 7 years. It was a sentence that ensured he would spend the rest of his days behind bars, forever separated from the community he had once called home. Nehemiah's reaction to his sentence was emotional. He teared up because he wanted a more lenient sentence. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. James Fairweather. Next, I bring you a chilling tale that shook the small town of Colchester in Essex, UK, from no other person than James Fairweather. Growing up, Fairweather's fascination with the macabre became apparent. He developed an obsession with serial killers, studying their methods and motives. This morbid fascination would later play a significant role in the crimes he would commit. The first signs of Fairweather's violent tendencies emerged when he was just 15 years old. In 2014, he embarked on a chilling spree that would forever stain the town of Colchester. His first victim, James Atfield, Atfield was a 33-year-old man who had suffered a brain injury from a car accident. Atfield's vulnerability made him an easy target for Fairweather's twisted desires. On the fateful night of March 29, 2014, Fairweather attacked Atfield while he lay on the grass at Castle Park. The brutality of the assault was unimaginable. Atfield endured over 100 stab wounds, his body bearing the marks of a desperate struggle to fend off his attacker. 3 months later, on June 17, 2014, Fairweather struck again. This time his victim was Nahid Almanea, a 31-year-old Saudi student. Almanea's life was tragically cut short. On Salary Brook Trail, where Fairweather unleashed his savage fury, he stabbed her in the abdomen before forcing the knife into her eyes and brain, leaving behind a scene of unimaginable horror. The investigation into these gruesome crimes was a race against time as the town of Colchester grappled with fear and uncertainty. Detectives tirelessly combed through evidence, interviewed witnesses, and analyzed CCTV footage from the nights of the murders. In the case of James Atfield, who was found unconscious in Castle Park with a staggering 102 stab wounds, the initial investigation involved questioning locals with a history of knife crime, including James Fairweather himself. Fairweather provided an alibi which initially diverted suspicion away from him. However, the police were determined to leave no stone unturned in their search for the truth. Over 900 potential witnesses were interviewed, and 9 individuals were arrested and bailed in connection with Atfield's murder. The community was on edge as the investigation unfolded, with residents living in fear of the unknown assailant who had committed such a brutal act. The police worked tirelessly to gather evidence and build a case against the perpetrator, determined to bring justice to Atfield and his grieving family. 3 months later, the town was once again plunged into darkness when Nahid Almanea, a 31-year-old Saudi student, was brutally murdered. Almanea's body was discovered with 16 stab wounds, including one through both of her eyes. The sheer brutality of the crime sent shockwaves through the community, leaving residents in a state of fear and disbelief. Initially, detectives did not believe that Almanea's murder was connected to Atfield's. The crime seemed to have different motives and targets. However, as the investigation progressed, possible links between the two cases began to emerge. The police meticulously analyzed the evidence, searching for any connections that would help them piece together the puzzle. The possibility of a hate crime in Almanea's murder was considered, given her background as a Saudi student. The police explored all avenues, leaving no stone unturned in their quest for answers. The community was on high alert, with residents taking extra precautions and living in fear of another attack. Months of tireless work by the investigators finally paid off when a breakthrough occurred. In May 2015, a 16-year-old boy named James Fairweather was apprehended. He was spotted loitering near the crime scene, carrying a lock knife and wearing surgical gloves. The chilling evidence against him was mounting, and Fairweather's arrest sent shockwaves through the community once again. Fairweather's arrest marked a turning point in the investigation. Detectives began to uncover the disturbing truth behind the murders of James Atfield and Nahid Almanea. Fairweather confessed to both crimes, claiming that he had been hearing voices compelling him to kill. The investigation revealed the chilling extent of Fairweather's obsession with serial killers. He had studied their methods and motives, drawing inspiration from their gruesome acts. This morbid fascination played a significant role in the crimes he committed, leaving a trail of devastation in his wake. The trial of James Fairweather was a harrowing ordeal that laid the disturbing mindset of this young killer. As the proceedings unfolded, shocking revelations emerged, shedding light on the true nature of Fairweather's crimes and the twisted motivations behind them. In January 2016, Fairweather stood before the court facing 2 charges of murder. However, he denied these charges, instead admitting to 2 charges of manslaughter on the grounds of diminished responsibility. Fairweather claimed to have psychosis, insisting that he heard voices compelling him to kill. This defense strategy aimed to establish that he was not fully responsible for his actions due to his mental state. Throughout the trial, the prosecution presented a compelling case against Fairweather, highlighting the chilling details of the murders and the evidence that linked him to the crimes. The jury was faced with overwhelming evidence, including Fairweather's own confession, CCTV footage, and forensic analysis. However, the defense sought to challenge the prosecution's case, presenting their own arguments and witnesses. Fairweather's legal team aimed to establish that he suffered from psychosis, which impaired his ability to understand the nature and consequences of his actions. They argued that he should be held accountable for manslaughter rather than murder. During the trial, it was revealed that Fairweather had a history of criminal activity, including knife-point robbery and criminal damage. This pattern of behavior painted a disturbing picture of a troubled individual with a propensity for violence. It became clear that Fairweather's crimes were not isolated incidents, but rather part of a larger pattern of disturbing behavior. The prosecution presented evidence that Fairweather was obsessed with serial killers and had extensively researched cases of manslaughter by reason of diminished responsibility. This revelation provided insight into the twisted motivations behind his crimes. Fairweather's fascination with serial killers had fueled his desire to emulate their acts of violence. violence, leading to the brutal murders of James Atfield and Nahid Al-Manea. However, the defense sought to cast doubt on Fairweather's claims of psychosis. A prosecution witness testified that Fairweather's claims were fabricated, challenging the notion that he suffered from a mental illness that impaired his judgment. The jury was faced with conflicting testimonies and had to weigh the evidence presented by both sides. Ultimately, he was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 27 years. However, even in the face of such a significant sentence, Fairweather showed no remorse. In a chilling display of callousness, he even gave a thumbs up to his parents after the sentencing, further showing his lack of empathy. Sierra Halseth and Aiden Guerrero. Next, let's explore the shocking and chilling crimes committed by Sierra Halseth and Aiden Guerrero. It all began on that fateful day in April 2021, when Sierra and Aiden hatched a plan that would forever change their lives and the lives of those around them. Armed with a twisted motive and a thirst for violence, they entered the home of Sierra's father, Daniel Halseth, with sinister intentions. Once inside, the couple unleashed a wave of brutality that would forever stain their hands. They confronted Daniel, a 45-year-old man who had no idea of the horrors that awaited him. In a fit of rage, Sierra and Aiden attacked him, repeatedly stabbing him with a ferocity that defies comprehension. The sheer number of wounds inflicted upon Daniel, a staggering 70, is a testament to the savagery of their assault. But the horror didn't end there. In a desperate attempt to cover their tracks, Sierra and Aiden set fire to Daniel's house, hoping to destroy any evidence that could link them to the crime. The flames engulfed the home, casting an eerie glow over the scene of their unspeakable act. With the house ablaze, Sierra and Aiden fled the scene, stealing Daniel's car and debit card in a bid to escape justice. Their destination? Salt Lake City, a place they believed would provide them with a safe haven from the consequences of their actions. However, their attempts to evade capture were short-lived. Law enforcement agencies swiftly launched a manhunt, determined to bring the perpetrators of this heinous crime to justice. Sierra and Aiden's faces were plastered across news outlets, their names becoming synonymous with evil and depravity. It wasn't long before the authorities caught up with the teenage couple. They were apprehended in Salt Lake City, their dreams of freedom shattered. The evidence against them was overwhelming, leaving no room for doubt. Sierra and Aiden were faced with the stark reality that their actions had consequences, and they would be held accountable for their crimes. The charges brought against Sierra Halseth and Aiden Guerrero were extensive, reflecting the gravity of their actions. They were charged with murder, arson, robbery, and fraudulent use of a credit or debit card. Each charge carried its own weight, a testament to the depth of their depravity. As the trial unfolded, the courtroom became a stage for the harrowing details of the crime to be laid bare. The prosecution presented a compelling case, meticulously piecing together the evidence that pointed to Sierra and Aiden's guilt. The defense, on the other hand, attempted to paint a different narrative, emphasizing the alleged abuse Sierra had suffered at the hands of her father. Sierra Halseth, the daughter of the victim, Daniel Halseth, alleged that her father had subjected her to years of abuse. She claimed that the abuse had taken a toll on her mental and emotional well-being, ultimately leading to the tragic events that unfolded on that fateful day. According to Sierra, her father's abuse was relentless and pervasive. She described a childhood marred by fear and pain, recounting instances of physical violence and emotional manipulation. Sierra's allegations painted a picture of a man consumed by anger and cruelty, a stark contrast to the image of a loving father that her family presented. However, Sierra's claims of abuse were met with vehement denial from her family. They adamantly refuted her allegations, painting a different picture of Daniel Halseth. In their eyes, he was a caring and devoted father who would never harm his own daughter. They argued that Sierra's claims were nothing more than a desperate attempt to justify her actions and evade responsibility. The courtroom became a battleground for these conflicting narratives. The prosecution sought to establish a pattern of abuse, presenting evidence and testimonies that supported Sierra's claims. They painted a picture of a troubled family dynamic, one that had been marred by violence and dysfunction. On the other hand, the defense vehemently challenged Sierra's allegations. They questioned the credibility of her claims, suggesting that she had fabricated the abuse as a means of self-defense. They argued that Sierra and Aiden's actions were not justified, regardless of the circumstances they claimed to have endured. The jury was faced with the difficult task of sifting through the conflicting testimonies and determining the truth. They were tasked with weighing the evidence presented by both sides, considering the impact of abuse on Sierra's mental state, and ultimately deciding the fate of the accused. The emotional toll of the trial was palpable. Sierra's family members, torn between their love for their daughter and their loyalty to the memory of Daniel, found themselves caught in the crossfire. The courtroom became a stage for their own personal anguish as they grappled with the devastating loss of a loved one and the shocking revelations that emerged during the trial. In the end, the jury's verdict did not hinge on the allegations of abuse. They found them guilty on all charges, holding them accountable for the brutal murder of Daniel Halseth and the subsequent crimes they committed. The sentencing hearing for Sierra Halseth and Aiden Guerrero was an emotionally charged event as family members took the stand to express their anger, grief, and the profound impact of the heinous crime on their lives. The courtroom became a space for raw emotion and heartbreaking statements that left no one untouched. One by one, family members of the victim, Daniel Halseth, stepped forward to share their pain and devastation. Their statements painted a vivid picture of a man who was loved, cherished, and tragically taken away. They spoke of the void left in their lives, the shattered dreams, and the profound loss that would forever haunt them. Tears flowed freely as they recounted cherished memories and the indescribable pain of losing a loved one in such a brutal manner. Their words carried the weight of grief, anger, and a longing for justice. The impact of the crime on their lives was immeasurable, and their statements served as a powerful reminder of the ripple effect of violence. The courtroom was filled with a palpable sense of sorrow and disbelief. The emotional weight of the statements reverberated through the space, leaving those present with a profound understanding of the devastation caused by Sierra and Aiden's actions. The gravity of the crime was laid bare as family members shared their shattered hopes and the void left by Daniel's absence. The judge presiding over the case listened intently to the statements, taking into account the profound impact of the crime on the victim's loved ones. The weight of their words undoubtedly played a role in the sentencing decision that would soon be handed down. In the end, the judge delivered the sentence that would forever alter the lives of Sierra Halseth and Aiden Guerrero. Taking into consideration the gravity of their crimes, the judge sentenced them to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 22 years. Sierra Halseth and Aiden Guerrero's reaction to their sentence was one of sadness. Sadness so deep they just stared at the judge as he read their sentence. You can only imagine the weight of their guilt and the realization that their choices had forever altered the course of their futures. They now face a lifetime behind bars, a reminder of the consequences of their actions. Aiden Fui. Next, we have Aiden Fui. In a small town in St. Johns County, Florida, a shocking crime sent shockwaves through the community, forever changing the lives of those involved. This is the tragic story of Aiden Fui, a 14-year-old who committed a heinous act that would leave a lasting scar on the hearts of many. On May 9th, 2021, 13-year-old Tristan Bailey, a vibrant high school student and cheerleader, was reported missing. The search for her would uncover a horrifying truth. Tristan's lifeless body, with 114 stab wounds, was discovered in a wooded area. The evidence pointed to Aiden Fui, who was seen walking with Tristan before her disappearance. Before we delve into the crimes of Aiden Fui, it is crucial to understand the backstory of the young individual who would become the center of this harrowing tale. Aiden Fui, a 14-year-old student, lived in St. Johns County, Florida, a seemingly ordinary teenager with a troubled past. Growing up, Aiden faced numerous challenges that shaped his character and influenced his actions. Sources close to the family reveal that Aiden had a tumultuous upbringing, marked by instability and a lack of parental guidance. His parents' relationship was strained, often marred by arguments and conflicts that spilled over into Aiden's life. Additionally, Aiden struggled with behavioral issues, frequently finding himself in trouble at school. Teachers and classmates described him as a troubled and volatile individual, prone to outbursts of anger and aggression. Despite attempts by school administrators and counselors to provide support, Aiden's behavior continued to escalate, causing concern among those who knew him. Aiden's path would intersect with that of Tristan Bailey, a 13-year-old high school student and cheerleader at Patriot Oaks Academy. Tristan was known for her vibrant personality, her dedication to her studies, and her unwavering loyalty to her friends. She was a beloved member of the community, admired by both peers and teachers alike. On that fateful day, May 9, 2021, Tristan's family would experience unimaginable heartbreak. It was Mother's Day, a day meant for celebration and love, but instead, it would become a day forever etched in their memories as the day their beloved daughter went missing. The disappearance of Tristan Bailey sent shockwaves through the community as friends, family, and law enforcement mobilized in a desperate search for answers. The community rallied together, plastering missing posters throughout the town, hoping for Tristan's safe return. During the investigation, video footage emerged, capturing Tristan walking alongside Aiden Fui shortly before her disappearance. This footage would become a crucial piece of evidence, leading authorities to focus their attention on Aiden as a person of interest in the case. As the investigation intensified, intensified, details of Aiden's troubled past began to surface. Friends and acquaintances revealed that Aiden and Tristan had been at a mutual friend's house on the day of her disappearance. They had left together, raising questions about the nature of their interaction and the events that transpired afterward. Initially, Aiden claimed that he had walked with Tristan until she turned home, denying any involvement in her disappearance. However, as the evidence mounted against him, Aiden's story would change, revealing a darker truth. In a shocking turn of events, Aiden confessed to being involved in an altercation with Tristan. He admitted to pushing her away during the confrontation, but the details of what transpired next would send chills down the spines of those following the case. The discovery of Tristan's lifeless body in a wooded area would reveal the horrifying extent of the crime. She had suffered a staggering 114 stab wounds, 49 of which were defensive in nature, showing her desperate struggle for survival. The investigation would uncover further evidence linking Aiden to the crime. A knife matching the DNA of both Aiden and Tristan was found near the scene. Additionally, Aiden's room yielded blood-stained clothing and a sheath that matched the knife, further solidifying the case against him. As the pieces of this tragic puzzle fell into place, Aiden's initial claims of innocence crumbled. He would eventually change his plea to guilty, acknowledging the pain he had caused Tristan's family and friends. Aiden's admission of guilt would mark a turning point in the case, leading to the next chapter in this chilling saga. The trial that followed would be a pivotal moment in this haunting saga. Aiden, charged as an adult, faced the weight of the justice system as he stood before the court. The charges brought against him were grave: first-degree murder, a crime that carries severe consequences. The courtroom became a stage for the prosecution and defense to present their cases. The prosecution painted a chilling picture of Aiden's actions, describing the brutal nature of the crime and the immense loss suffered by Tristan's family. They argued that Aiden's actions were premeditated and fueled by anger, seeking justice for the innocent life that was taken. The defense, on the other hand, sought to humanize Aiden, shedding light on his troubled past and the challenges he faced growing up. They argued that his actions were a result of a volatile emotional state, urging the court to consider leniency in their judgment. As the trial unfolded, witnesses took the stand, recounting their interactions with Aiden and shedding light on the events leading up to Tristan's murder. Friends, classmates, and acquaintances shared their perspectives, providing insight into the lives of both the victim and the perpetrator. As the judge read his sentence, Aiden could only stare emotionless at the ground. He couldn't even look the judge in the face. After all was said and done, Aiden Fui, at the age of 16, was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Thanks for watching. Click on the videos on your screen for similar content.